Hello and welcome back to our Rhun playthrough in Tales from the Age of Men. We've just lost over 3,000 in cash, and that means that we're going to need to do something about that. We're going to need to get some kind of supplementary income in some way or another, because otherwise we're going to get ourselves bankrupted very, very fast. So, what are we going to do about that? Well, I'm very much hoping that we'll be able to potentially take ownership over this particular town. I'm not a terribly big fan of taking it, to be honest. I mean, as in gaining ownership over it, because this is going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those where it obviously has loyalty problems, possibly loyalty problems at least, but it's also going to be very low development. It's going to be a very, very low development. I'm very much hoping that they're going to be going into the siege relatively soon. I need them to go into the siege really, really soon here. If they don't go into the siege, we will be getting a sally out, and I would prefer to try and avoid that if at all possible. We're going to be going for good-natured here in the charm skill tree. I also have 4 free points to spend. So what are we going to do? Well, there's some pretty crazy stuff here, as you can see right here. Look at this, 18% increased horse charge damage. Can you imagine? 18% and 15% increase. I mean, really, that is absolutely insane. So we are going to be taking both of these, and there we have it. Okay, so we've taken, taken both of those, which is very, very nice. And I don't think, see, now this is a bit of a problem, because generally I don't really care about troop morale, but to get to the other stuff, it's very useful. So I'm thinking, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go and get that party movement speed and everything. And let's try to reduce this and this and this. There we go. And then we're going to get this and this. And we've got one point left. I guess I will spec into horse health. I mean, that kind of makes sense, I suppose. So this is what we currently have. As you can see, we ended up losing a little bit of melee damage, some horse HP, which I don't really care about too much, and then the troop morale, which I obviously don't care about, as you know. And then otherwise, we also have this, of course, we have this, and we have all of these. And then we are getting some pretty nice stuff. I am actually unsure. I think we have a... I'm not sure if we actually are going to be getting any more points. I'm not sure if we're going to get any more points, but if we don't, that's okay, because we're getting some extremely nice bonuses here. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that maybe they're going to take effect for us. As I say, I'm not too sure whether all of the career skills and so on and so forth have actually been implemented or anything like that. Maybe some of them have, some of them haven't. I don't know. But what I would love to see is how much damage our horse is doing with charges. Because I'm going to assume that it's going to be insane, right? I'm going to assume it's going to be absolutely crazy. So we're going to go into the siege. And I'm going to use my spear. I know. Usually, I would say, please don't use a spear. You know, don't go into a siege and have the ultimate goal to use a spear, because that is fundamentally, well, not very good. Let's just say that. It's a much better idea to use a spear in a field battle and so on and so forth. But for me personally, I actually really find it a lot of fun. I find it a huge amount of fun. It's even more fun if you have a penetration mod installed. Obviously, I'm not using any mods like that in regards to Tales from the Age of Men, because they recommend that, especially for you know, an in-development build as well. You don't really want to increase the chances of it crashing. So yeah, we'll see what we're going to do in just a moment, and hopefully we'll be able to penetrate many people. Alright, so we're in the midst of it, and well, unfortunately for me, I did end up using super speed because they were taking way too long to get to their destination, as it were. And well, I'm very much hoping we're going to be able to get out. Okay, don't die. Yeah, we don't really want to die here. That would be bad. But yes, hopefully I'm going to be able to get past. Nice hit. Oh, another one. Another nice hit. Very good. Okay, can I get some more of that, please? Yes, there you go. Look at this. That's exactly the reason why I absolutely love using spears, because it feels so much more... I don't know. It feels a lot more, I don't know, skillful, even though, you know, generally I would say that most of the time you're not really... You're kind of making things more difficult for yourself. It really is. Like, for example, I don't have to do this. You know, I could just switch to a one-handed and then just have a much easier time and just basically just, you know, kill enemies and pretty much just be like, yeah, okay, you know, I'm just gonna slash away randomly and I'll just get kills, you know, because that's just how it goes. But I feel like with a spear, it generally tends to be a lot more rewarding when you get those kills. I don't know. I've obviously spoken about this quite often. For example, in the previous episode, I did actually start speaking about this whole, you know, spear business and how fun it is to actually use. And you can see here, look at this. I'm specifically targeting certain points on the enemy. And I think that that really makes a huge difference. I feel like I am absolutely, I don't know, I feel like I'm just like a surgical striker right here, you know, because I'm basically being like, yeah, I'm going to target their heads, right? And I think most of the time when you're playing Bannerlord, I don't know about you, but generally for me, unless you're using a ranged weapon of some kind, I never really target someone's hitbox, right? I never really go and I'm like, oh yeah, I never really go, yeah, okay, let's try and target that guy's head, or try and target his I don't know, his leg armor or his arm armor or something like that. No, I never really do that much. Yeah, sometimes I will, dependent on what kind of enemy I'm up against, because sometimes you are, of course, going to see, oh yeah, that guy has a completely naked body. Of course, his torso is going to be the play there. You know, you want to try to target his torso rather than his head. And that's going to be the main deal. Whereas when you're using a spear like this, and I'm talking about, you know, generally beforehand, you know, when I was talking about targeting the guy's torso, obviously you're going to be targeting with pretty much any weapon type you want. You don't have to target him with a spear or anything like that. You can just use any weapon. But just look at what I'm able to do here. I'm able to do this. Obviously, I do have a pretty significant amount of polearm skill. So yeah, my polearm skill, or polearm in general, is actually going to be doing quite a lot of damage, because that's, of course, how it is. If you have a weapon skill that is above 300 or above 275 even, and two-handed obviously above 250, because two-handed, that's the reason why generally I would recommend, if you are someone that, as I was talking about in a previous episode, if you are someone that isn't, you know, super confident in your combat skills, and, you know, generally maybe I don't know, maybe if you are, even if you are confident in your combat skills, sometimes it's a nice idea to just be like, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to try to make things a little bit simpler, a little bit easier on myself. I'm just going to be like, yeah, okay, I'll go for a two-handed build this time, because with my, you know, with my next character, and I'm talking about, you know, from your perspective, if you create your next character and you're like, yeah, two-handed, let's go two-handed, and then you just go, okay, yeah, it's easy, it's so much easier, because you get to 250, and then all of a sudden you turn into this absolute, you know, slaughterer of enemies, because you get to 250. It's so much easier to get to 250 than it is to get to 275. And it's funny, because 275 shouldn't be that difficult after you think to yourself, oh yeah, 250, well, 250, 275, there's only 25 points difference, right? And you think, oh yeah, that's super simple, you don't have to really worry about that. But actually, yeah, I feel like it really makes a big difference. I don't know, it feels to me like it's a lot slower to get to 275 than it is to get to 250. But once you get that really advanced perk in the two-handed tree, everything starts just dying, right? Everything starts dying really nicely, and super fun stuff starts happening. Like, you're actually able to beat some enemies when they're using one-handeds, right? When they're using one-handeds, and that makes a huge difference. Because imagine that you're using a massive two-handed, and let's face it, if you're playing Tales from the Age of Men, right? Let's say you're playing this. If you're going to be using a two-handed, let's say you're, I don't know, using a massive two-handed hammer or an axe or something like that, and you're playing as the dwarves in the form of these guys, right? The Erebor fellows here. If you're playing as them, and you have this massive two-handed weapon, and then you're beating enemies that have one-handeds, and you're beating them speed-wise, right? Speed-wise, you are going to have such a satisfying time. It's going to be so extremely fun, because you're running around, you've got this shorter stature character who is all intents and purposes, going to be very fast on his feet as well, because obviously his athletic skill is going to level up really, really quickly too. Anyway, I'm going to ransom the prisoners. I'm going to get a massive amount of cash from that. Obviously, as I said already, I feel like we do need to kind of, well, I mean, we don't really need to, you know, not like super badly, but I feel like I do have to be a little bit aware of what's currently happening in regards to my cash situation, because you can see here, look at the prosperity at this place. It's okay, you know, it's fine. We've got a pretty decent amount of prosperity. It's got 3,000, but I'm not entirely sure if he's willing to really give this to me. So that's the issue. You see, that's the issue. Yeah. Anyway, point is, let's see what happens. Maybe they're gonna come out here. Maybe they're gonna try to attack us. If they do try to attack and start a siege, I'm a little bit concerned. Oh, hello, Chagan is just going out there. What is he doing? That's a little bit of a weird one. That's a little bit of a weird one, friends. I'm not a terribly big fan of his movement here, but okay. Anyway, I did level up to 25. I think this is probably the final point for our career. Yeah, I think this might be the final point here. So what I can do is, I think I'll probably do this and that, and then we'll just get the +4 to party size. As I said, I'm not sure what the party size does. I think someone actually mentioned what party size does, or at the very least, you had a theory on it, and apparently it might be that it increases the amount of parties that you can field or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. As I say, I think that some of these might actually still be, you know, works in progress anyway, so just bear that in mind. Anyway, charm skill, shall we go for that? I'm thinking right. Yeah, I'm thinking yes. Thank you very much. And okay, so we're actually gonna this is quite funny. We're actually gonna have to go in here against these fellows, because if we don't, Chagan is probably gonna get himself killed. So let's see. I can't participate in kingdom decisions right now. I always feel like it's kind of unfortunate that they made that decision, the Bannerlord devs. It would have been fantastic if we could have just gone into this screen while we were just interacting with someone randomly. You know, I don't really see what the limitation is there, but there must be one. And as you can see, there it is. We are going to be getting this particular fief, which is actually pretty crazy. I can even vote for other people and get significant amounts of whatever. I guess get a load of relation with some people here. These guys all love us. What? This is actually crazy that they love us so much. But yeah, anyway, so the loyalty situation is going to be a bit of a problem. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to the policies. As you can see, this is what's really, really fun as well. The AI is actually kind of smart when it comes to their policies. They've actually done some really, really nice things here. I mean, with the, obviously noble retinues is amazing. That doesn't really help me that much, but it definitely helps in general, helps a lot of our people. The Royal Guard would probably be really, really useful too. I'm not entirely sure why they don't have a lot of support for that, but I guess that's just how it goes. Now, forgiveness of debts, this is not going to get pushed forward. As you can see right there, this is definitely not going to get pushed forward, as you can see. So I'm literally just going to go and abstain. And that's very, very sad. It's very, very sad, because forgiveness of debts is one of my favorite policies of all time. And, well, as it stands, obviously, it's just not a thing that the AI likes to do, which, in my opinion, is a huge shame. Because obviously, if you know anything about the loyalty system and the way that conquering works and all the rebellions and stuff like that, the AI would fundamentally be able to just completely crush any kind of rebellion if you just make the population happy. Yes, I know. Making them happy. It's unthinkable, isn't it? But no, it is actually the primary reason why a lot of conquerors that have, you know, had situations like that, had rebellions in the past, the reason why that fails is because the population isn't happy. And the funny thing is, they would have been able to make them happy with some very, very easy to implement things, most of the time, that is. Anyway, as you can see right here, we are doing massive damage with our charge damage. Look at this. We're doing 25 damage, maybe even 30 damage with our charge now, instead of 13. That's how much damage we just gained from those career options. That is insane, because just think about how much I'm able to do right here. Think about what I'm actually doing. Look at this. I can just pass through these guys. I don't even have to use my polearm. I could literally just do this randomly, and I could probably kill these enemies without having to do anything super special. I could just go through them, and I'm gonna start killing them in a second. Look at this. I'm gonna start killing them in a second just by running through them. There we go. We're starting to get kills, and I'm sure they're going to be running away. They're going to be running away very soon. Let's just run through these guys a little bit more here. And they're just going to be dead. They're just going to be 100% dead. It's going to be extremely hard for any of them to do anything. And we're going to snatch all their birthdays away right here. That is what we're that is what we're going to do. That is quite a That is a very historical line right there. Yeah, absolutely historical line. A line for the ages, as it were. Oh yeah. Anyway, we will be attempting, if we can, to try and inflict some damage against their infantry. Usually I don't really like attacking the infantry because they're just going to have shields and it's going to be extremely annoying. But we have... Oh, have we slaughtered them or are we losing? I actually don't know who's who right here in regards to our symbols at the top, but I'm assuming that we are absolutely slaughtering them. So I don't think we need to worry too much. Oh, wow. It's funny. It's funny seeing humans in amongst the dwarves because the humans look so much taller, and obviously it is to be expected, but they look like giants in comparison. Wow, that's amazing. All right, yeah, well, anyway, these guys should have basically nothing on us here. And we should have a very easy time in eliminating pretty much all of them. My horse is actually dying. I'm kind of surprised. I would have expected it to be almost invincible at this point, but I'm going to assume that generally we don't really have... I don't think I have good horse armor. I think I need to change my horse armor, to be honest, because at the moment I think my horse armor is very low, despite the fact that I thought I actually purchased some better horse armor, so that's a bit strange. I don't really know what's going on with that, but yeah. Anyway, the enemy is no doubt going to be... they do look to be, at least, running away here. You can see how much damage we're actually able to do. Look at the damage just from charging. We're doing 35 damage when I gain a little bit of extra speed as well. Look at this. I can just run through these guys and do basically a quarter of their HP, if you think about it. I'm doing literally a quarter of their HP, if they have, 100, obviously. But that is extremely strong. And indeed, there you go. Look at that. We got a nice amount of influence, nice amount of renown and everything, and we're also getting some good leadership. Let's just take every... Oh, okay, never mind. I was going to say, let's take every single one of them prisoner, but no, I couldn't. Yes, because I only had one of them available. But that's okay, because we're going to sell them anyway. Generally, I do think that most of the time, I would say that keeping prisoners and making sure that they don't escape, that is usually the best way to go about things. But when it comes to this in particular, I feel like maybe just going for a little bit of extra monetary security is the way to go. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look here first of all, because the loyalty situation is not going so well, because you can see that if I were to start creating something or start constructing something right now, then the loyalty would be taking a nosedive, a massive nosedive. So you can see here the notables don't like us, right? The notables don't like us, the owner culture doesn't like us, obviously, and the culture itself doesn't like us. So that is indeed the issue here. So what we're going to have to do, I'm not sure if... Is this actually possible for me right now? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to institute this guy. 64,000? Sure, I'll take him. Why not? I'm going to institute this guy as a governor. I'm only going to use him as a governor just so that I can offset the owner culture, because you can see the governor's culture has +1, the owner culture is -1, so we're basically offsetting that 100% now. So that's really nice. And he's also going to provide us with a pretty significant amount of engineering skill and maybe some steward skill and all that wonderful stuff too. So I think it kind of makes sense. So that's all we're going to use him for. We're not going to use him for anything else. We're not going to see him in battles or anything like that. We're just going to use him for a governor, and he's going to do a pretty good job in my opinion. I feel like he'll probably do a pretty good job. So apart from that, we're just going to let the loyalty just kind of stagnate there, just kind of get a little bit better. I might be able to 21 days. Yeah, that's not really something that I really want to... I don't really want to see that. I don't really want to see that at all. Okay, what's actually going on here? Threatens Vorgavold. Oh, all the way down there? Really? Oh, okay. I don't really want to go all the way down there if I'm honest, but maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. Maybe we have to do that. Oh, Uplifting Spirit. That's kind of fun. Okay, yeah. So basically what I did was in my off-screen time, I went all the way down here. Wait a minute. Where was it? Yeah, this. Wait, no. This? Yeah. This one right here. This one right here is a really, really good village. I was able to recruit massive amounts of troops. Literally spent 12,000 gold recruiting those guys. Extremely, extremely cool. Let me actually just see if I can show you which guys they actually were, because I think... Where are they? Where are the recruits? I don't even know where they were now. Oh, see, now that's the problem. Yeah, but I got a huge amount of different people there, and they were all horse archers, basically. All horse archers are all having the possibility of becoming heavy cavalry as well. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing them level up. And indeed, what do we want to do now? Well, that's the question, isn't it? That's the question. Because obviously we've got huge amounts of Rhun raider camps here. So the question is, do we want to eliminate the Rhun raider camps? There is actually a vassal over here as well. Actually, wait a minute. Let me just save. Because you never know what's going to happen, right? You never know what's going to happen. So I just want to make sure that we are prepared. Because otherwise we'll have Mr. Stormrage telling us off for not being prepared. Of course. Okay, so let me actually just take this guy prisoner. This guy... Oh yeah, actually I didn't even sell my prisoners. So I should probably do that. Despite the fact that I do feel as though I probably have more than enough cash right now. As you saw right there, I just recruited a companion for 60,000 and I didn't even blink, right? I didn't even blink when I was doing that. Probably not the best idea, right? Probably not the best idea, but you can see here, look at this. I literally just got another 22,000 just from randomly selling some prisoners. And the same thing can happen with these pieces of loot. Look at that, 28,000, boom, instantly back, right? We instantly basically just paid for that entire companion. And he's going to do an absolutely fantastic job as our governor. At least that's the hope, right? Yeah, so apart from that, let's take a look. Oh, hello, what's going on here? Knowing your reputation as a trader, I don't actually have a reputation as a trader, but thank you very much for saying so. Two merchants in Skarhald are asking you to arbitrate a dispute between them. The two had drawn up a contract wherein each partner had a half share in an incoming shipment of wine. When it arrived, however, the sea captain demanded twice the price. The wealthier of the two partners was at the docks. He took the initiative and purchased the goods, deciding to take a loss for the sake of his reputation as a reliable supplier to the local taverns. But the second is poorer and wants out of the deal. Okay, so generally, in my opinion, right here, he needed to consult with the guy, for sure. In my opinion, that's what he should have done. I really do like the fact that we are gaining 50 influence as well, so that's also the reason why I'm doing that. But generally, from my own personal perspective, I think the moral thing would have been to consult with his partner. If his partner wasn't obviously available to be consulted with, then it's up to him, I suppose. It's up to his discretion at that point. So it's not really neither here nor there at that point. Anyway, let's take a look. Oh, hello. Oh, that is a significant siege. Wow. We've got our guys absolutely murdering here. The garrison is looking very, very nice too. As you can see right here. Look at that. Massive amounts. I can even take... Whoa, we got some nice units right here too. Look at that. I will probably be taking quite a few of these guys just so that I can actually level them up really, really nicely here. And, well, I guess it's not really a good idea to take them from the garrison because they're probably going to end up besieging it or something like that. But, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I personally feel like, well, I can probably do better with them in my possession than the garrison. You know, because the garrison's literally just going to stand there. They're just going to stand there not doing really very much. And, well, we are obviously doing some things. Keen Sight is obviously fantastic. This is great. I'm actually pretty pleased that I started leveling up scouting now, because now we have this crazy thing where we have 100% reduction in the enemy's chance to escape us. And that is amazing, in my opinion. That's extremely, extremely powerful. We're just going to go in for a nice little auto-resolve there. I'm not even going to bother capturing any of these regular troops right now. I don't really see the point in it at this point, because we are actually not near a town. If we were near a town, then that would obviously be a little bit different. Ooh, very nice. Okay, yeah, I am going to probably go in for a battle against this guy. He has slightly more powerful units. So let me just save real fast. You never know. You never know when something bad is going to happen, and otherwise, let's go straight on in. I kind of hoped to get the other vassal in here, but no such luck. So, yeah, so this guy's going to lead the infantry. He has no horse, so it kind of makes sense, I suppose. And yeah, we actually have... We have 63 infantry? Wow, okay, my recruiting must have recruited a whole bunch of these random infantry, and I guess that's fine. I guess that's okay, because beforehand we were way too horse archer focused. So this is a lot better in my opinion. Let's see how it goes at least. And indeed, the enemy is no doubt going to be feeling our horses into tomorrow and maybe next week. Yeah, so it's one of those situations, unfortunately. I'm going to have to tell my forces to charge in here, but this is not something that I really wanted to do. That's the reason why what I was doing right here was trying to bait the opponent into literally just charging. I wanted to kind of, you know, break their discipline, as it were, break their line discipline as much as possible. Unfortunately, that didn't really seem to pay off super nicely, so I will just have to do this the old-fashioned way, and we'll just have to try and murder as many people as possible from the back line here. And yeah, it's going to go well. I think it is going to go well because the enemy obviously doesn't have as many troops as we do, so we're just going to completely and overwhelmingly destroy him from every single perspective, because he doesn't even have very good troops, as you can quite clearly tell here. He has a handful of good troops, of course, but a handful versus a lot? No, that's not really going to help. Anyway, there we go. That is indeed it. Nice, another 26 influence for us right there, and we can indeed capture him. And what's great about our perk selections is that these guys, right, these guys that we have now, if we decide to keep them with us, they will never escape. They will never ever escape us. And that is actually a strategy that I utilized in another mod a while ago, and it was literally so extremely powerful that in the end I had captured every single vassal. I had literally like, what, 60 vassals or something like that in my prisoner's hold in my army. And it was absolutely one of the most bonkers things I've seen in quite some time, because let's face it, you know, I mean, the fact is, having that many vassals to begin with, yeah, that's kind of insane. Anyway, I think we're not going to go for medicine. That's basically pointless. What should we do? Should we go for bows? Should I actually go for bows? I could, I guess. I mean, I don't think I'm actually going to use a bow, but I guess we could. I mean, it kind of makes sense to go for a bow in many regards here, considering we are a part of the Horse Archer faction. I guess it kind of makes sense. And now we're going to be getting a huge amount of ransoms. Yes, we are. Okay, so this is actually going to be pretty simple for us. At least I think so, because as I said beforehand, basically what I did was I just waited for the battering ram to come in, destroy the central gate, and then make my way behind enemy lines and just try to skewer as many opponents as possible. And that was pretty much it, you know. That's basically my strategy whenever we go into a siege. That's usually what I like to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be through the central gate, of course, but other times we could take advantage of the walls being down, or we could try to go for a siege ladder. And once again, the battering ram does not get destroyed as we make our way to the walls. It's actually quite funny because it's got about 25% HP left, and I would have 100% expected them to be able to destroy that, but they failed very, very by the skin of our teeth, to be honest, because if they had destroyed that, we would be out of here. There would be nothing we could do. We would be having some pretty big issues. Well, actually, maybe we wouldn't be having so many issues, because the problem that they're going to have is the fact that we have so many troops. That's it. Because if they had about the same that we did, or just a little bit less than we did, then we would be out of here. We wouldn't be able to take this, because the enemy would be having every single avenue blocked off. Because the whole point here is that the battering ram has opened up such a wide entry point that it's very, very simple for all our forces to just slip inside and give them a right good seeing to. You know, that's exactly what's happening here. But obviously, as it stands, they couldn't do anything about it. I'm not entirely sure whether that was because of the lack of catapults, or whether they had different kinds of catapults or something, because obviously fire catapults are going to be a thing, and generally maybe fire catapults are not being are not killing enough units, you know, because that's obviously a thing as well. You know, if they don't kill enough units with their fire catapults, then they won't be able to force a retreat. But if they do have regular catapults, then maybe they just didn't have enough time to be able to destroy, you know, the battering ram in a decent time frame. You know, that's it. Because the whole point is that you need to destroy the battering ram before it gets to the walls, because otherwise you're going to be having a huge problem. This is a Rhun archer. Interesting. Not sure why he's here, but okay. Let's try and see if we can do some damage to these guys. Yeah, well, this is going to be obviously a bit of a problem. They do have shields, and most of the time, and this is of course what I've said time and time again, it is not a good idea to use a spear in a siege if you are alone. Yeah, if you're alone, then just don't even bother unless you're going after archers, for example. Like right now, I'm going after archers primarily, because I know that they are going to be a little bit preoccupied trying to shoot their bows and stuff like that, and that is a lot easier for us to deal with. But when it comes to enemy infantry and enemy cavalry and all the stuff that generally tends to have a melee weapon and doesn't tend to switch from that, they're a little bit more difficult. They're a little bit more difficult to deal with, but still, I personally feel like using a spear is really, really fun. I don't know. Is it just me? I don't know. Obviously, there are other ways of being highly effective. Like, I mean, really, there are countless ways of being highly effective. As we've seen multiple times, you can generally be effective with pretty much any weapon type. Maybe not daggers. I'm not sure if you'll be effective in a siege with a dagger. I think it would be very cool if there was some way of implementing stealth in a siege like this. Like, yeah, I don't know how that would really work. Yeah, I mean, how would that really work? Because it's gonna literally be like, what? You're sneaking around in your sneaky gear, and your forces are, I don't know. I mean, maybe it could work. Maybe it could work in a sense, because obviously, let's face it. What are you gonna have? You're gonna have your forces pushing the battering ram, right? You're gonna sneak in through the side. You're gonna be sneaky mode. You're gonna have a number of targets to assassinate. For example, maybe the gatekeeper, maybe the siege masters, if they have, you know, some kind of designation for that. I don't know, like, you know, people that can construct things, people that can use these kinds of weaponry, and, you know, stuff like that. So important persons, right? So important fellows that really do need to be eliminated to give your side the highest chance of success. That's generally the, I guess, the premise of a potential sneaky mode to happen when it comes to the siege, right? The siege mechanics. So I guess it could work, right? I guess it could work in a sense, but yeah, I'm not sure how viable or how interesting that would be. I don't know. I think that would be quite interesting because you'd have a bit of a time limit as well, because what you'd have to do is you'd have to be relatively quick and very, very efficient, because otherwise you'd get found out, you'd get seen or something like that, and then you'd have a whole big other problem because you'd have enemies coming at you from all angles. And it would be quite hard, you know? It would be quite difficult to deal with that, but I don't know. Maybe that is just me. I don't know. Maybe I am, I don't know. Maybe I'm just adding to the wish list of things, and maybe we shouldn't do that. It's probably not the best idea, considering. And I'm not saying that the mod should add that, by the way. I'm not saying that Tales from the Age of Men should add that. I'm just talking in general about stealth gameplay. That's it. I'm not talking about, you know, anything that the Lord of the Rings mod should add, because it doesn't... They don't need more work. They already have a very, very large amount that they're doing, and they're doing a great job at it. So let's not go crazy here, shall we? Anyway, yeah, I'm going to just wait here for some time. I feel like we did a great job here. We've now captured quite a few of their fiefs, and things are looking pretty good, actually. Things are looking pretty good. I'm actually kind of surprised that we've been able to do this, because if you remember, the dwarves came back in a really significant fashion, and they actually managed to capture quite a significant amount of, well, retaliatory sieges. They basically recaptured all of the things that we had previously captured, or not we, but our faction. And they did a really, really good job at that. So I was kind of, you know, I don't know, kind of surprised, I guess, to see that. Anyway, as you can see, we are not actually getting this, but I will vote for her. And we're going to be getting a significant amount of relation and all that wonderful stuff. Generally, I want to try to increase my relation with pretty much every single vassal that I can, because that's going to make a huge difference for us later. And as you can see, we are now getting +1 loyalty, which is really, really nice. And notable relations are still -1. Why do people hate me here? They don't. They don't hate me here. That's interesting. Wares with no market. What's this? I'm a craftsman, a working man. A lot of the other honest men here in Scarhold, the ones that work with their hands, they like me to speak for them. Alright, so what do you have here? I think you may need some help with the problem. My shelves groan with ware no one here will buy, traveller. If my craft could reach a town that needs it, I would not starve at my own bench. Well, what do you make? 40 loads of pottery to send to better markets. 40 loads of pottery? Not sure where to find the pottery, but I guess I'll give it a go. This is probably not the best idea. I mean, there's 12 loads of pottery here for 12,000. No, not 12,000. 1,300 actually. And the other place that we just came from actually has cheaper pottery. So I'm gonna very quickly just go back there, and then we'll return here, and we'll see whether we can complete the task. Alright, so here we go. I have just returned, and we're going to see what he says about this, because we have all of the pottery, and he gave... Are you joking? That is so funny. That probably has to be one of the worst quests I've ever seen. However, we did get a significant amount of relation with him, which I have to admit I do very much appreciate. I like that. I like getting a significant amount of relation from quests. Quests that don't give relation, that's where I'm going to grind my gears. That is when you're going to get my gears grounded down to the nothingness. But yeah, this situation was quite funny, because I basically, okay, look, I went to Scarhold, I went to Yarnfast, and then I went over down here. And the amount of money I spent on pottery is actually hilarious, because I think I spent like 4,000 on pottery, and the guy gave me 1,300. I'm not sure where you're supposed to go to get pottery for pretty much, well, for pretty much no cost, to be honest. Pretty insane, to be fair. But yeah, anyway, that is going to be it. That's going to be it for this episode. And indeed, we now have our very own town. I'm very excited. Unfortunately, I have a bad feeling that there's going to be a large army coming along and trying to take this very soon. I thank you very much for watching. and I'll see you next time.